You know, my lovely friends, it's been my experience that thousands and thousands of people, millions of people, are going through their lifetimes with missing data. That is, they simply don't know. Or maybe they do know, and I'm the one who doesn't know, and I just think that I know. I don't know. But let me put it this way, let me rephrase it. That which they know is different from that which I know. The basis of their life and of their understanding is different from mine. I want to say in most cases dramatically different. But here's what I do know. Different or not, right and wrong or not, accurate and inaccurate or not, the ideas that have come to me and through me and that to which I have attached myself in most recent years, the past 17 or 20 years of my life, have changed my life dramatically and immeasurably for the better. So maybe it's not a question of right or wrong, but what works and what doesn't work. That is what brings joy and what does not bring joy. Because what I noticed is that in the early part of my life, the purpose I had set for myself was not bringing me tons of joy. I felt accomplished in some ways. I had some moments where my ego was served and I felt good about things that were happening. I had achieved some things. But I wasn't internally deeply serene, peaceful, or happy. I was simply doing what I was doing and experienced, as I said, some success at it here and there, but it all came up to be, when you get to be around 50, a big so what? You know, is that it? You know, as Peggy Lee put in her song of about 25 years ago, which the young ones here won't know what I'm talking about, but if you're over 45 or 50, you recall the wonderful song by Peggy Lee. Is that all there is? Send in the clowns. You know, isn't it rich? Isn't it queer? Losing my timing this late in my career? Making my entrance again with my usual flair? Sure of my lines? And then you realize if that's all there is, if what we have accomplished, what we've achieved, is all there is, then maybe somebody should send in the clowns, because I'm clearly in a circus. So send in the clowns. So at least I can get some laughs out of it, because none of this is making any sense. So I got my house, I got my car, I got my kids, I got the grandkids, I got the job, I got my name on the door. I mean, you know, I got the bank account, but it turns out to be a big so what. Now there are some people who are satisfied with that. Say, Neale, relax. You know, you got it made. It's worked out. It's worked out. You know, relax. But my mind is, I guess, maybe different from most. I can't relax if that's all there is. If that's all there is, I could have retired 17 years ago when I got my first royalty check. I had enough to retire on. That's it. I'm done. Go get a little farm someplace in Dubuque. Are there any farms in Dubuque? Or a little estate in Hawaii or whatever one's dream is, and just call it a game. But my mind wouldn't allow me to do that, because I felt there had to be more. Actually, I felt that even before the Conversations with God experience. In fact, I think that's what led to the Conversations with God experience. My sense that something huge was missing from my life. And I'm not the first person to feel that way. Wait a minute. I'm playing by the rules. I'm doing the things that need to be done. I'm getting my job. I'm finding my mate. I'm having my kids. I'm doing the thing like we all do. I'm doing the dance. I'm paying the man. I'm handling it. And I'm empty. I'm feeling empty. It's feeling just a bit pointless. So it comes down to the thought that there had better be more than this, or I don't want to play. I don't want to play anymore. So I want to suggest to all of you, before we even discuss the purpose of life as I have come to understand it, to be clear about what purpose we are serving, that is, whose agenda we are serving. We are, as most of you know, three-part beings made up of those three elements: body, mind, and soul, or body, mind, and spirit, if you please. And here's something that most people don't know. Each of those aspects of our being does have its own agenda, in a sense. That is, each of those aspects of our total being find a certain pathway that is uniquely suited and ideally designed to bring joy to one of those three parts of us. The soul, or what you call your spirit, finds great joy in the pathway to God. But if you do that and nothing but that, and that's all you do all your life, it could turn out that you have a kind of a flat life. That is, it may be without dimension and without texture, and without all of the experiences that dimension and texture bring you in life. You might lead a cloistered life, as a nun might. Again, no disrespect meant for all the great nuns of the world, but it might not be the richest life filled with the greatest texture, and you may not have allowed yourself the breadth and scope of experiences for which physical life was designed. And then again, you might. There's no rule around this, but I just observe. To me, it feels just a tiny bit, just to me, just my mind here, a tiny bit sad for a lady to go into a cloister and go into a convent and say that she's marrying Christ and put a ring on her right finger, and from that day on, she simply serves God. If that makes a person happy, of course, by golly, I have no argument. But it feels just to my observation, a tiny bit limited. On the other hand, maybe after living 55 or 60 lifetimes, doing all the things that life allows you to do, maybe sometimes the soul just wants to rest. How about if I just go to a cloister and just do nothing for about 80 years? I'll just sit here and maybe they'll make me the Mother Superior. So not to make it wrong, but just to notice that there is that. And if you likewise follow the agenda of the mind, you could wind up sitting there like Thomas Aquinas, just writing tomes and exploring the regions of the mind and doing wonderful stuff in your head, but, never getting outside, the study, and never experiencing life because of that particular limitation. Or if you just are into the physical body things, you become like Francis of Assisi, or like Aaron, Saint Aaron or Saint Francis, where your whole thing is about the birdies and the bees and the flowers and the trees, and you start talking to the animals and really believe they're talking back to you.
What a wacko.
Yeah, what a wacko. And you see, and so your whole life is wrapped up in that, and as Francis of Assisi did, but if that becomes the primary agenda, if not the only agenda of your essence, of yourself, you could be just suggesting that you might be a little bit limiting in terms of the totality of the experience that physicality places before the human person in terms of possibilities. On the other hand, if you choose an agenda that serves all three, and not one of those three exclusively, then you have, I think, the richness and the texture and the breadth and the scope of the human experience as it was designed to offer you. And furthermore, I think that is a perfect recipe for great joy and happiness. Because we have the opportunity to be fully self-expressed. So look to see whose agenda you are serving before you set the purpose of your life firmly.